Our scripture lesson this morning comes from Psalm 137. I'll be reading the first 6 verses. Listen now for the word of God for you. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, and there we wept when we remembered Zion. On the willows there we hung up our harps, for there our captors asked us for songs, and our tormentors asked for mirth, saying, "Sing us one of the songs of Zion." How could we sing the Lord's song in a foreign land? If I forget you, O Jerusalem, let my right hand wither. Let my tongue cling to the roof of my mouth if I do not remember you, if I do not set Jerusalem above my highest joy. I want you to take a trip down memory lane with me this morning. What song was playing when you had your first ever slow dance? Mine was Wildfire by Michael Martin Murphey in the gymnasium at my high school, a very romantic place. What song perfectly described your first relationship? Mine was Wasted Time by the Eagles. What song got you through the breakup you didn't think you'd survive? For one of my favorite souls in the world, Mickey Perry, my old secretary, it was Gloria Gaynor's "I Will Survive." What song gave voice to your frustration with life or the phenomenal joy that you were feeling? I feel pretty comfortable arguing that since the beginning of time, music has been the vehicle that has inspired, comforted, encouraged, emboldened, and consoled more people than any other thing. As a preacher, I'd like nothing better than to stand here and tell you that sermons and the spoken word make more of a difference than music and the sung word, but it would be a big, fat lie. The simple fact of the matter is this: maybe 1 out of 100 of you could name me a sermon that has changed your life, and that one person is probably me, while 99 out of 100 of you could point to a song or a hymn or an instrumental piece that kept you going when nothing else in the world could. It was God's presence in the music that lifted your spirits, that gave you strength for another day, that gave you comfort and hope in the midst of whatever you were facing, in such a way that that music became your hymn, your song. Good hymns and anthems and instrumentals and carols like the ones we hear and sing today do that for us. They become our songs because somehow we find God, or God finds us in the words and in the melody. And we're touched in a way that the spoken word simply cannot touch us as we sing of God's love and God's power, God's grace, God's forgiveness, God's heaven, God's call upon our lives. Such is the power of music. I remember like it was yesterday visiting my mother at Florida North Hospital right outside of Orlando in the spring of 1981. She was 2 weeks removed from a very unexpected struggle with congestive heart failure, an episode which very nearly cost her her life. I'd flown in from Tennessee. When I walked into her hospital room, she was watching Jim and Tammy Faye Baker's PTL Club. Christy Lane was singing her massive #1 gospel hit, "One Day at a Time, Sweet Jesus." I shook my head. I began to gently mock Miss Lane, singing her lyrics in my best Southern drawl falsetto, "One day at a time, sweet Jesus." And my mother shredded me like a wood chipper. "Robert Jeffrey," she said, "for you, sure, it's just a song to make fun of. But for me, now, it's a way of life. One day at a time. daily bread. I've been lying in this hospital bed for 2 weeks, wondering if I'm going to live or die at 46 years of age. And the song that for you is just silly drivel and southern drawl and apparently spiritually dumb has become the prayer that keeps me going. So either sit down and say a prayer for me or turn around and go back where you came from. For my mother, the music mattered. I think Georgia Tom Dorsey would have understood my mom. Dorsey was one of the founding fathers of the blues movement in music. And in 1930, at the age of 31, he was on a national tour when he got a call from Chicago telling him to get home immediately because his wife had gone into labor prematurely and had died in childbirth. He rushed home. 2 days later, his newborn baby died. The walls, understandably, came crashing in on Georgia Tom, and for 3 weeks, he essentially barricaded himself in his house. He didn't know if he could go on. How did life make any sense at all? Near the end of his rope, he worked out his grief and his anguish in the only way he knew how. He sat on the piano bench and he started playing. At first, he pounded the keys in rage, and then he dropped to a sound barely above a whisper as he wept and as he played. First, the melody came to him, then the words. And this was the prayer that he wrote through his tears. I bet you know it. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, help me stand. I'm tired, I'm weak, I'm worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me home. For Tom Dorsey, the music mattered. Today's scripture, Psalm 137, drips with the sacred truth that the music matters. The people of Israel are in exile. They're torn away from everything they held dear, filled with anguish over what used to be and what is no more. I love what the late Reverend Ernest Campbell of Riverside Church in New York City says about this psalm. Some have imagined that the enslaving Babylonians, partying it up on a Saturday night, had sought to compel the Hebrews to add to the merriment by singing their sacred songs. An invitation to such sacrilege, we may be sure the Jews resisted. They were not about to cast their pearls before swine. But we may be just as sure that away from Babylonian eyes, the people of God did indeed sing the Lord's song in that strange land. This we know because their faith survived the exile, and faith cannot live without a song. It can live without a creed. It can live without a systematic theology, at least for a little while. It can live without buildings and organization. It can live without political power. But it cannot live without a song. For the hymn writer Horatio Spafford, whose 4 daughters perished in a transatlantic shipwreck, the song of faith is this, written through tears on the spot atop the place they died in the Atlantic. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. Or for our black brothers and sisters who lived in slavery, the song of faith is this, written by the brilliant James Weldon Johnson. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat, have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed? Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound as loud as the rolling sea. That's why the hymn writer Mary Catan wrote these words as a plaintive plea for why the music matters. When we are called to sing your praise with hearts so filled with pain that we would rather sit and weep or stand up to complain, remind us, God, you understand the burdens that we bear. You too have walked the shadowed way and known our deep despair. When we are called to sing your praise and life ahead looks grim, give us faith and hope to break forth in a hymn, a thankful hymn, great God of love, that you are everywhere. You walk the shadowed way with us and keep us in your care. Give us faith and hope to break forth in a hymn. With that line ringing in your ears, here's my word of challenge for all of you this morning. I would go so far as to say the quality of your Christmas boils down to how you answer one question from one of your favorite Christmas carols by Phillips Brooks. Now, Advent is the promise that help is on its way if you will open yourself up to it. Christmas is the promise that none of us need to surrender to the hopeless moments of life. Christmas is the promise we need not remain at the mercy of the needle or the shot glass or the depression or the despair of a sin-sick soul. Christmas is the promise that whether you live in a beach house, the dog house, the poorhouse, the outhouse, Christ can come to your house, because Christmas is the promise of deliverance announced from a Bethlehem stables delivery room. There is, however, one small catch when it comes to that delivery. I remembered that catch this week as I thought back to a conversation I had really almost 30 years ago now with a fellow who was involved in our church's Angel Tree program in Swansboro, North Carolina. Harley was a great guy, opinionated, a little rough around the edges. He was particularly frustrated this day because his Angel Tree delivery route had not been a hitchless one. He stopped me outside the church to say, this is a great program, preacher, it really is, but there are a few glitches on the delivery end, don't you see? I don't know what to think about some of these people. I mean, today I drove all the way out to the other end of Onslow County. Some of these kids aren't out of bed yet, and it's 11 o'clock in the morning, or they're living with their grandmother, or their mother's hungover, or she's strung out. Sometimes they won't even open the door, for crying out loud. I mean, how can you make a delivery if they won't let you in? I stood there sympathizing with him for just a hot minute. Then I swear I heard God say, Harley, I know where you're coming from, man. I mean, it's a real pain to go all the way down there to make a delivery, only to find out that no one opens the door. Which is why Phillips Brooks wrote these words on a snowy night in the stillness of a sanctuary. How silently, the wondrous gift is given. So God imparts to human hearts the blessing of his heaven. No ear may hear his coming, but in this world of sin, where meek souls will receive him. Still, the dear Christ enters in. Let him in, my friends. Let him in.